Today, I want to talk about some low consumption, frugal living methods that I personally use in my everyday life to make sure that my purchases are mindful, in general, just not spend a lot of money, and also try to combat the overconsumption culture that has been created over the past couple years. Before I jump into what I want to talk about today, I want to introduce myself. My name is Kelly. I am 27 years old. I used to make YouTube videos pretty regularly a couple years ago, and I fell off from doing it. And I'm in a place in my life right now where I just really want to explore this type of content creation again. I plan to post lifestyle content. I also would love to explore some fashion content as well. I work at a clothing boutique. It's a vintage designer clothing boutique, highly curated. We carry incredible pieces, and I feel like I get a lot of information on what's hot right now in the designer vintage world, and I come across a lot of designers whose vintage is so incredible that I feel like there's a lot to share and a lot of good information that people want to know about who are interested in vintage designer fashion. So I definitely want to explore some fashion content as well. Also, in the spirit of transparency, my return to YouTube stems from being in a transitional place in my life right now where I have the luxury of having a lot of time to pour into creative projects that I really enjoy, but having a full-time corporate job never really let me do fully because I was kind of putting one foot into each, my professional corporate career, and then also equally trying to put in a lot of effort into creative projects. So I have fully left corporate America and I'm now working in the clothing boutique, which ultimately has allowed me to step into a mindset where I just feel more grounded and aligned with who I am. And with that, I feel like it's a good time to start making YouTube videos again in a way that is more aligned with who I am. Anyway, let's get into what I want to talk about today, which is my frugal living methods that I have adopted now that I am not working in corporate America. There's kind of a larger conversation that should be had with this, which is when you're working a corporate position that pays extremely well, but you're also equally miserable and not getting any satisfaction out of the job, this phenomenon happens where you kind of aren't making that much money because you're overspending to fill those voids that your soulless job is creating in yourself. And I knew for a long time that I was filling the void by overspending in different areas of my life. The point of this video is that I'm now out of that mentality and I'm extremely excited to be living more mindfully when it comes to finances and what I'm consuming. I want to live a low consumption lifestyle, and so this is what I'm doing in order to achieve that. The first thing I immediately cut out was getting my nails done professionally. Through the transition of exiting corporate America, extraneous purchases became extremely obvious to me. And getting my nails done professionally was one of those things that I was buying that very quickly became so clear that it's not essential. It used to feel essential because it made me feel really, really good and kind of made up for how much I wasn't enjoying my job. Getting my nails done was kind of like the trade-off almost. This was kind of hard to accept that I needed to do in order to live a low consumption lifestyle and live a bit more frugally because I have hand tattoos and I don't know, I feel like having your nails done kind of completes the look of having hand tattoos. But I just looked myself in the face and I said, is it really that worth it to be spending $70+ every couple weeks just to have hands that look aesthetic and complete? My idea isn't to never get my nails done ever again. I'm still open to getting them done occasionally. The main thing that I cut out here was the recurring appointments with a nail tech. And now that I'm a lot happier in myself and in my career path, it just immediately was like, oh, I don't need to be spending this money anymore. The next frugal living method I'm going to talk about is practicing critical thinking and mindful thinking when you're experiencing the excitement of a new potential buy. I'll use Tabby shoes as an example because I really want a pair of Tabby flats right now. But whenever I see someone on Instagram or TikTok or even in real life wearing Tabby shoes, I recognize that I really like them and I would probably enjoy having a pair of them. What I am trying to navigate more mindfully is the initial excitement that you experience when you see a product that you maybe want to buy. I've noticed in my life that sometimes that excitement is fake almost. It's like pseudo excitement. I think that I'm excited about a product, a pair of shoes, a purse, things like that. But when you sit with that excitement and kind of let it settle a bit more, it starts to become obvious that there's always going to be something next. So the realization that there's always going to be something that I want to buy helps me almost buy nothing. Honestly, the Tabby shoes are a great example because I really want a pair, but I also want a good pair. I don't want to just buy some from anywhere. There's a couple brands. I know Margiela is like the Tabby shoe, but I'm not about to pay $1,000 for a pair of shoes right now in my life. That's the whole point of this video. But I have been peeking around at potentially buying from Woodchuck Sado. I think they're out of Japan. I don't know for sure, but they like specialize in tabbies. And I'm really playing around with the idea of buying a pair. They are like $250, but I feel like that's a good price for a quality shoe. I'm not going to buy them anytime soon. I think I want to sit with the excitement that I'm feeling over them for a bit longer and see if that feeling sustains, because that'll clue me into maybe, this is actually something that I want to mindfully purchase. The next frugal living tip is super easy and super effective, and it is pack your lunch for work. This is particularly effective for me because I work at a clothing boutique. So if I don't bring anything to eat and I'm starving, I have to DoorDash food. And DoorDash can be expensive. The delivery fees do add up. It's also not as healthy. I'm trying to be healthy as well. So taking the extra time the night before to pack a little lunch and bring some snacks has been so easy, but so effective for me to not be incurring just a bunch of little transactions that ultimately add up to a lot of money at the end of a week if you're looking back at your finances on what you've spent, or looking back at the month of what you've spent. Like all those little $15, $20, $10 transactions, they mean a lot. They add up. And so I really try to cut that out and not have any small transactions related to food. I try to just go to the grocery store, buy our groceries, and then eat those groceries and depend on those groceries for my main food source until we have to go to the grocery store again. The next frugal practice that I have adopted in my life recently is thrifting, even for nice events. I will use my engagement photos as an example. My fiance and I took our engagement photos a couple weeks ago, and I actually have two things to say about this. First is that all I wanted my fiance to wear is a white button down and black slacks. And then we were both going to be barefoot. We were taking them outside. I wanted it to be like kind of outdoorsy, a little grunge. He had the black slacks, but didn't have a regular white button down. So the old me, when I was working at my corporate job, I probably would have just been like, okay, well, on the weekend, let's go to the mall and find a white button down for you to wear. But now my first thought is to try to thrift that for a variety of reasons. First of all, it's so easy to thrift a white button down. I just genuinely needed that mindset shift to happen to actually make me think of the thrift store first instead of a department store or the mall. And then the other piece of this, using my engagement photos as an example, is I feel like when we have events, especially bridal events, there's this notion that you should have a new outfit for all of them. which makes sense. You get to be a bride typically once in your life, and it's important to enjoy these moments and really, live it up and live life to the fullest. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that the outfit you're wearing can really help you enjoy an event. With my mindset shift and being in this new chapter of my life, being outside of corporate, I felt the urge to get a new outfit. I was like justifying it already, having a vision of something that I wanted to find. Then I started to look at what I already have in my wardrobe, and I realized that I had pieces that were going to achieve the aesthetic and vibe of outfit that I wanted for our engagement session. I ended up wearing my Cuckoo Intimates white little cotton cardigan and the bra that goes with it, and then a white slip skirt that I thrifted for like $2. You're not always going to be able to get away with this. Sometimes you just want a new outfit and there's nothing in your wardrobe that is satisfying the vision that you have for the way that you want to look for a certain event or photo shoot, milestone, whatever you have in your life. So I do know that this is not realistic to always think like, oh, you have something in your wardrobe. But more times than not, you do. At least I do. And I don't need to buy a whole brand new outfit. Now let's talk about makeup. My frugal living method that I use when it comes to makeup products is I don't buy any until I'm completely out of whatever it is that I'm using. Let's use concealer for an example. I will stretch concealer for the longest time until like I am like, scraping the sides of the container for the last drop of concealer. Do the same thing with everything. I try to make it last as long as I can. And I honestly did this even before when I did work in corporate. This is kind of just something that I've always done. I love wearing makeup. I wear makeup almost every day of my life. For whatever reason, buying makeup feels like a sting every time I have to buy it. So especially now being in this new phase of my life, I definitely don't want to take a trip to Ulta or Sephora if I don't have to, because I just want to limit the exposure essentially that I have and like the potential to buy like things that I don't need. I really like going into an Ulta or a Sephora knowing that I specifically need and have to get X product. Because if I don't have that like true urge, like I am literally out of concealer, I don't have another one, that's when my mind will wander and I'll probably end up buying things that I don't need. The next frugal living tip that I want to talk about is kind of funny. In my opinion, it's something that I do for myself and to myself, and I call it a challenge. It's like a little challenge, and every day, maybe not every day, but a couple times a week, I will say to myself in the beginning of the day, I'll be like, all right, let's try to get through the entire day spending $0. Like, spend no money. It challenges you to be resourceful in ways that you really wouldn't expect to be able to do. Like, sometimes if I'm having a day where I'm challenging myself to spend $0, I will make food from things that we have in our home, in our pantry, that I would like never really think to use unless I was in this mindset of like, okay, I'm trying to spend $0. So like, how can I make these random ass ingredients work? And it's kind of fun to challenge yourself to be like as resourceful as possible. Obviously, this is not possible every single day. And sometimes I challenge myself to spend $0 and I end up spending some money because I literally have to. But it is kind of just like a fun, weird way that I've found can like kind of like inspire you to be resourceful and then like play a game with yourself. We've come to the last frugal living method that I want to talk about that I've been doing. And this did happen before I quit my corporate job. The tip is I started drinking my coffee black. While I enjoyed putting creamer in my coffee, I noticed that the prices of coffee creamer, at least for the ones that I was shopping for, which are the more clean brands that only have like maybe 3 ingredients in them. I think it was Chobani was one of them. the prices were so high. I mean, that like a bottle of creamer was like getting upwards of like $8 or $9. And I was just like, this is insane. Like, and I loved putting coffee creamer in my coffee. Like, my fiance would joke about it to me all the time. Like, you don't like coffee, you like coffee creamer. So for me to start drinking coffee black, surprisingly wasn't as hard as I thought it was. I actually went really cold turkey with it one day where I was just like, I'm just going to try to drink black coffee. And it literally stuck the second I started. And now if I ever do like put creamer in my coffee for whatever reason, we don't have it in the house anymore. But if I'm at like my mom's house or something and I do put a little creamer in it, I genuinely don't like it. So I've fully acquired a taste for black coffee. Actually, what that method kind of boils down to is mindful shopping, like I talked about earlier. Like, I recognized that the creamer was getting so expensive. Every time I would go to the grocery store, I noticed it would just get more expensive. And so I decided that that wasn't something that was worth spending money on anymore. It's small but mighty. That concludes my list of low consumption and frugal living methods that I have been adopting and practicing in my life recently. Let me know if you have any other tips or methods that you use, because I am genuinely really, really curious to know what other people are doing, and I love a good life hack. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe. I do plan on posting more regularly after my 2-year hiatus. I'm very excited to be in this phase of my life. I honestly can't wait to see what comes from it. If you want to follow my Instagram, I'll put it on the screen. I'm also on TikTok. I actually used to have a pretty big following on TikTok, and then I deleted that account because I went viral for something that I could never replicate ever again. So the followers that I gained from it felt kind of artificial and not really they were there for me. So I deactivated the entire account. I don't have it anymore. So I had 40K followers. Now I'm at 27. So if you want to see me on TikTok, I'll also put it on the screen. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.